Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Wolf Dens Radio Show, featuring me, your host, Wolf King, and we got the co-hosts. We got Chaz, World Almighty, and we got Xbox Fiend, the Foxhole Atheist, and hopefully Chocolate Rainbow will be joining us shortly. But let's step into the den for now. Okay. Right. Okay. Now, one of the things I want to get into is okay. Are y'all aware of the of the phenomenon YOLO by Drake?
I know of Drake. He is an awful human being that should not be allowed to make music ever.
Yeah,
and
well,
YOLO hashtag can bugger off and all. You only live once. Good. Then kill yourself for everybody else's sake.
Yeah, well, here's the interesting thing. Apparently, a pastor has perceived that you only live once thing. Let me just play like that for just so everyone can have a understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, so apparently he took that you only live once thing as like an atheistic brainwashing type deal, in that we're trying, the rap industry is trying to get people to think that we only live one life, so that focus on like getting paid, getting bling, getting drunk, fucking and everything, because when you die, that's it apparently.
So like a
well, hold on. Doesn't YOLO technically mean that you only live once? It doesn't actually negate nor promote a afterlife, because technically even the Christians believe that you only live once. You die and then there is a second life after that, which is
eternal life. Eternal life.
Your soul is eternal, but your life isn't. Your corporeal form is not.
You just physically.
Well. The thing is, the whole point behind what the pastor was trying to say, like, you live a second life, so you need to focus on like Jesus and like getting right with him and repenting and all of this stuff. It's he totally missed the point of the entire like rap song and the whole deal behind the rap industry in general. I mean, it's not that they're trying to promote atheism or this this like naturalistic type of viewpoint. It's just, I mean, the whole point behind that song in the rap industry in general is the fact that it's promoting sort of like a materialistic, flashy type of way of entertainment. I mean, that's just the way it works. I mean, it's not like it's not like this is something to like brainwash people. I mean, to say that just fundamentalists like looking for clues and messages that aren't even really there.
Crazy.
Yeah, no, but I mean, we are talking about somebody who believes in some imaginary friend of his somehow is more important than anything else that could be going on. I mean, he's a pastor, so obviously he's just 24/7 Jesus, and I think that's why everything 24/7 has to do with Jesus, because I don't think he can function any other way, or he's just a pastor who's just looking for attention. Yeah. And I mean, they're always going after the youth vote, so if they can come in and go, oh, this thing's evil, no, come and listen to our good Christian music. Like the Jonas Brothers. Were they a Christian band?
They were, they did that purity ring bullshit, and I was all like, I mean, they did that to like, to talk about the sanctity of marriage and all this, and like, wait until like you're married to screw. And I'm all like, now if I was ever part of an entertainment group or like a rap group or anything like that or whatever, I would never. I don't care like what it is. I would never have anyone else try to put regulations on my genitals. Fuck that shit. Like I have sex with whoever I want. I deal with relationships on my personal basis. You don't get in my business and tell me who I can screw and like how I actually convey my message.
I just like how changeable God is. Because at one point God's going, yeah, go forth, multiply, fuck like rabbits, and then all of a sudden, almost at the same point when changes to society like agriculture and civilization came about, you know, but just coincidentally, those two things happen at the same time. God seems to decide that just fucking and being fruitful is a bad idea, and that you should have this arbitrary ceremony thing to decide property rights because they became important around about the time of the civilization. I mean, it's just a coincidence. I mean, if God invented sex and then invented us to be very lustful, I mean, what are they Christians trying to say? God wants you to get like blue balls, because unless you sit there and literally suffer, then God thinks you're a prick. I'm sorry, but I think torturing things that you create makes you a piece of shit. So fuck you, God.
That's using your humanly standard, though.
Oh yeah, my humanly standard, which is somehow just unable to work out God's, considering God gave us his standard in a fucking book. Written by several different authors in very different styles and terms and times, and, you know, even how he presents himself seems to change. You'd almost think people were just making this shit up.
That's
all just coincidence.
Yeah.
Correlation is not causation. I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I just think that, I mean, there's other things. Like, don't say that he's trying to promote some atheism. Just try and obviously be honest about it. Drake is just trying to ruin rap music. They should just let him, you know, don't worry about, you know, all the other rappers who do so much better music are all now suffering because Drake's giving rap a bad name.
Yep. All right. Now we're gonna touch on the climate change thing right now. There's this guy. I forgot what his name is. I think his name was some foreign like Belushi or something like that. I'll check it later. But you know, actually, this is a more general thing because you know you got these right wing governors and like senators and people like that talking about like how they're not scientists, right? But they deny climate change. I mean, they acknowledge the scientific evidence that the climate is changing, but according to them, it's not on the level of what scientists worry about, like with regard to the impact it has on our environment and to the population. And it's like, I mean, if you're not qualified to actually like give, you know, real empirical views on this, like what is the point in saying and actually like stating I'm not a scientist, but I think, I mean what's the real relevance to that?
Your agenda.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, power plants and like big oil companies and shit like this. I mean, yeah, they're totally legitimate. You could trust them, right?
Well, I think it's not just that. I mean, these people have a viewpoint to try and get out there, as you said, an agenda. But I think it goes a bit further than that. That these people, they're literally always trying to go against taxes, and they're often they want to deny science in other ways. And there is some reasons to question a lot of the stuff people think is climate science because it isn't. And then there's some stuff about what climate change actually is and what it means, which is, you know, very serious. It is something that we need to consider. I mean, I don't have anything against. I do not think we should be promoting the idea of climate hysteria, which a lot of people are trying to because of their agendas.
Yeah.
But at the same point, these people aren't doing that. That's what they want you to believe. But these people are just being science deniers because they don't understand this climate science. And it's just like, it's why when they say the things, and I've seen other people do it, they're going, oh, how can we have global warming? It's snowing in April. Yes, climate change. What you know was the case is no longer the case. That's what climate change means. That's like saying, oh no, my VCR still works because the little light comes on. Does it record? No, then it doesn't work, does it?
No.
Idiots.
The global warming still fits in there too, because you're talking on a global scale. You're not talking about the ambient temperature of the air. Or
yeah, it's
planet's temperature.
Yeah.
The whole atmosphere's temperature. Like, it's wild.
If anybody wants to deny climate change, think about this. the climate changes on a daily basis. The climate changes on cycles to do with the, for instance, the effects that the sun has on our planet and our distance to it, the effects that other cosmological energy and things which are added to our thing. And not only that, I mean, while we're on this planet, we cut down trees. Certain things die, certain things do really well. There isn't like this perfect harmonious balance to the world, and I think a lot of people who are Christians think God made this perfect harmonious balance, and a lot of people are a bit into woo and this kind of like yin and yang Chinese thing, think that there's a harmonious balance to nature. There isn't. Nature's always changing. One of the best examples is you've got a field of lettuces, a couple of rabbits walk in, they've got plenty of food, so their population grows. They've got the food to allow their population to grow. At one point, there'll be more rabbits than there is food, yeah? And then some foxes will come along. There's lots of food for their population, so the fox population will go up. As the fox population increases, the tax on the rabbit population causes it to start to decrease. The lettuce population, as a result, can begin to increase. There is this constant fluctuation in nature, and so at times there's going to be greater levels of carbon in the atmosphere, then there's going to be lower levels of carbon in the atmosphere. There's going to be different changes. Our planet heats up and cools down all of the time. There's been several ice ages, there's been several times where we've gone through heatings and stuff like that. If it wasn't for a heating, there would have been no ice age.
Yeah. Who has that famous chart? What's that famous chart called that looks like a dick? That shows about the 40s or 50s or so, as we started becoming industrialized, is when actually things... Before that time, looking at the ice cores, yeah, we spike up and down on the global temperature. Spikes up and down. It always corrects itself. But as you get into the 40s and 50s, where we start becoming industrialized, those up and down spikes get further and further, higher and higher and higher, to where we never actually get down to the baseline anymore.
Yeah, like just to comment on what Chaz was saying. Yeah, I mean the environment it's constantly changing. I mean natural selection. I mean this stuff. I mean environmental pressures they happen whether or not we like it or not. I mean that's just a fact of life. And a lot of the times, you know, especially with the technological advances that we have produced like larger problems with regard to the connection we have to our environment. It's only when we actually recognize that impact and like work towards you know solutions like taking advantage of this green energy, because that's just the next big boom with like you know this green technology, you know, using these natural sources as like you know for power. I mean that's only gonna help us like in the long run.
Yeah, they're
including nuclear. We should be looking at, for the time being, we should start moving to nuclear, as well as more resources of green energy like solar and wind, while we then work out a much better, more stable form of power to support our ever-growing population.
Right.
The problem is that we invented farming, and that meant that we could produce more food to support that population, and we've increased the factory farming to support even further booms in the population. Because if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have such a population boom. They haven't done that in places like Papua New Guinea and stuff like that, and that's why they didn't have as large a population, because they didn't have that type of food allowance. So it's something that we have to do with power. It's a consumable, just like our food. We've got to be able to mass produce energy, and it's got to be from somewhere where we know there's always going to be a new crop to grow. Otherwise, we're going to have some severe problems. But we don't have the wind and solar technology now to indefinitely sustain our population and to definitely sustain it into the future as our population will grow, as our demands on that energy will grow. So we do need to start looking at being able to create some sort of maybe artificial sun, maybe do exactly what the sun does on a smaller scale, contain some sort of miniature star, to be the new form of battery, to be make small ones to go in cell phones, big ones to go in bigger ones to go in cars, and ginormous ones to replace coal and gas generators. But until we have those viable methods, or zero-point energy as a viable method of energy generation, nuclear is one of the better ways to go. And if we research nuclear waste, we might find that it has way more properties that we were not previously aware of. So then, rather than creating waste we can't do anything with, we can create waste that we can do something with, so it's no longer nuclear waste.
Recycle it or be able to neutralize it. Spend more time experimenting with that.
Right. Good point. Any other thoughts on that, Xbox?
Just what I was saying about the chart that shows our up until the 40s or 50s, the planet has always kind of been able to heal itself. Up until we became industrialized is when it started having a problem basing back out to a base level, leveling back out, showing that not that we have caused global warming, but that we have contributed to it so much that we're causing the Earth not to heal itself, not to get back to a base level. It's not balancing back out. We put too much into it.
But if we do balance it out too much, we'll then have to deal with climate change in the form of an ice age, because there's supposed to be another ice age on Earth, I think, in something like another 1,000 or 10,000 years or something like that. And so, global warming is a slightly good thing, yeah? But we need to be able to regulate what we're doing to the planet to a large degree in order to benefit ourselves.
Yeah,
there are some industries which have to go as a consequence of that, but that's always what has happened. We don't see such a big rush for Stone Age technology or Bronze Age technology. When was the last time you saw somebody raving about buying a Bronze Age knife? Never, because we have better metals now, like carbon steel and titanium.
Yeah, we really gotta like make use of the advances that we have like down the line. But we're gonna be moving on. Okay, now this came out. Apparently, Fox News is mad at Harvard for having students who know shit. Let's just play the clip right here.
Yesterday, this video got a lot of you fired up. American imperialism and our protection of oil interests in the Middle East are destabilizing the region and allowing groups like ISIS to gain power. And what's the civilization? We're to blame for a lot of the problems that we're facing now. I don't think anyone would argue that we can create the problem of ISIS ourselves. Right. This man behind it, doing this right now, Caleb Bonham, he's the editor-in-chief of Campus Reform. Caleb, first of all, people are stunned because this is maybe one of the top 3 schools in the country, possibly the most famous in the world, and you found this school of thought. How many people would you say you edited out to get to those like-minded people who blame us, not ISIS? Well, the initial questions that I asked Charlie, 2 or 3 people said that ISIS was a greater threat to world peace. But then I was shocked to see that student after student, as we continued our interviews, found ways to blame America. And what I've seen as Leadership Institute Campus Reform is that this is sort of a fad that's sweeping the nation, and it's been doing so for several years, where the students think it's highbrow to be able to somehow blame America for the world bill.
That's real tough to hear when you had a plane go over.
Hold on a second.
Can you break it down for us what it was?
Well,
Our president on many cases talked about how America is to blame. They're hearing situation after situation where America is the root of all evil. And I wanted to hear, I really expected every student to look at me, roll their eyes, and say, come on, ISIS is the problem here. But what I find funny about our video is that, and it's sad, my video proves that students are listening to what they're learning in class.
okay, so okay, you heard all that, right? Basically.
Yeah,
Most of it.
Cool. Okay, so basically they're mad. They're mad at Harvard because they're learning how America has like a hand in producing the problems that we're dealing with, things like ISIS and stuff like that. And it's really interesting, in my view, because I mean, it's not like this is like a terrible thing. I mean, America is a superpower and it has a hand in a lot of shit that we do. But there's a reason why we learn about these root causes, because we want to figure out, like, at the base level, what we can do, what are the viable solutions we can actually implement to basically alleviate these issues. I mean, we might be a superpower, but that doesn't mean we're like exempt from doing no wrong, or we are not at fault with any of the stuff we do. But we need to learn this stuff in order to make the situation better. What do you guys think?
Xbox, you want to go on that one first?
Not really. I'm not sure that I heard the whole thing on top of that.
I mean, it does sound like Fox is saying, oh, these people understand the idea that there's one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist, yeah? That's bad. How dare they? No, it's like, it's just Fox News, just like they're talking to the old grumpy men, that's what it is, and the old grumpy women. They're talking to the grumpy generation, yeah? Like the generation who moan about the music that the kids listening to because they don't get it. All of this modern day science and technology, they don't get it. They don't get Facebook, so it's bad. They don't get this, so it's bad. And what people are starting to understand that, there is these things. America has done some atrocious things in the past to its own people, to the people of others. They've supported terrorist regimes. Britain and America helped put Saddam Hussein in power. Britain and America tried to sort that mistake out. They gave Saddam weapons to fight Iran, and then he turned around and fired them at Kuwait and invaded Kuwait. And so then he was a bad guy, and then started threatening to fire them at Israel.
That was Storm and all that, right?
Yep. The Gulf War and Desert Storm, yeah. And the funny thing is the Fox News almost seems to it's just talking to like the it's the good old America, yeah, that kind of patriotic American culture that it's gotten less and less, but it's mainly appealing to the McCarthy generation, where if you say anything bad about America, that's un-American. Yeah. You're having free speech there. You're not allowed that. That goes against what America was built on. And it's just rhetoric and hyperbole, and that's what human beings love. It's easy to repeat, it's easy to digest, and it's an appeal to emotion, and we can get all upset and feel self-righteous because we're not one of those. No, I'm sorry, Harvard is one of the best schools in the country. People are going to learn things. People are then going to realize that certain things people say are true and certain things are not so true. And I'm sorry, but there's a saying my mother used to have in situations like this: 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yep.
America, the Roman Empire, the British Empire, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, the Russian Empire, they've all been bastards in some situation.
Oh, yeah. And that does get to me, too, that when people take a blind eye to that stuff, there's no perfect nation out there that's never done anything wrong, just like there's not a person out there that's perfect like that, never did anything wrong. I mean, it is sickening when they get to the point, to the Fox News point.
Yeah, it's always these guys are our allies, we help them until they turn on us, then automatically they're the bad guys, like with the whole Mujahideen thing that they became Al Qaeda, I believe. But it's stuff like this, man. You have to be willing to. I've got another good one,
Gaddafi.
Oh yeah. Yes,
we hate Gaddafi, and then around about the 2000s, he's our good friend, and then a few years later, we go there. And it's funny thing is, a lot of it does have to do with oil. It keeps an interest in the Middle East because we like to know who's in charge of these countries because, what's that? The previous people aren't giving us as good a deal on oil as these rebels will if we give them some weapons. here, rebels, have some weapons. And there's a thing like you can do when you're a weapons trader or basically a death dealer. You go into a war situation and you sell weapons to both sides. Somebody will win and be your best friend.
Yep.
And if the other side finds out that you sold weapons to their enemies, you just go, no, they must have bought them off of somebody else we've sold weapons to. We'll find out where these weapons came from. Oh, it was this other group of people that haven't been playing ball lately. Yeah, they're the bad guys. We need to invade them because they're a dictatorish regime. I think, do you know what the best thing? If you ever want to really know the situation, watch the film The Dictator or just Google The Dictator's ending speech. Yeah, just listen to that. That pretty much sets out exactly what's going on in the world.
Yeah, that's why I like about satire. It always has like the best like the best information on it. Like not usually like the best, but like it always can break it down very easily. But Xbox, you want to comment on this just a little more?
That was it. I was agreeing that it gets sickening to the point whenever Fox News or any of them propaganda machines try to roll it out like that, and people just try to take a blind eye to it and think that our country doesn't have a bloody past. I mean, we have a bloody past. I mean, a really bloody past.
If you can't learn about history, then what's the point in even even considering your future and stuff like that? But okay, now we're shifting over. Now we're gonna talk about. Let's see. I got another clip for. Let's see who is this guy? Pat Robertson. Apparently he's gonna comment on this question about Halloween. Let's just check this out.
Throw a Halloween party for the children in our family. But I'm a Christian woman and want to continue to instill these values in my children and grandchild, so I don't let them participate in trick-or-treating or costumes. My family feels like I'm stopping my kids' fun. Will it be wrong to let them go to the party and buy them costumes and just to let them trick-or-treat? Please help, because I don't want to see them upset.
Halloween is a festival for demonic spirits. The whole idea of trick-or-treating, the druids, would go to somebody's house and ask for money, and if they didn't get money, they'd kill one of their sheep. I mean, that was the trick. So it was serious stuff. And it was also, all this business about goblins and jack-o'-lanterns and all that all comes out of demonic rituals of the druids and the people who lived in at that particular time. I think churches can have Halloween parties, you can box for apples and do stuff like that, and turn it into a Christian festival. That's what we ought to do. We need to redeem these days. But that thing was given over to satanic thing.
Yeah, and then okay, so basically the message behind that is, okay, Halloween is evil because because of this historical stuff. Therefore, you could have a Christian themed spin to it, but this is still a day brought about by spooky old Satan, apparently. What do you guys think about it?
Well, I'd like to come in on this one first of all, if I can do, and just go, I'm sorry, right, Halloween is All Hallows Eve, yeah? It is the Eve of All Souls Day. It was this festival of the dead, yeah? And not in a spooky woo way. That's what the Catholic Church turned it into. It was just like a celebration of those who have died, because all the autumn leaves were falling off the trees. It was the time when things were dying, yeah? It was to celebrate death as a natural part of life, and then it got turned into, this is all devil worship and stuff like that by Christian propaganda. But yet they don't seem to be, they turned All Souls Day into All Saints Day, the 1st of November. Mm-hmm. And they also like to nick things off the wedding rings. The wedding ring going on that finger is actually a pagan tradition. There's a thing called the love vein that would run from your heart to that point, and by binding it, you wouldn't be able to love again. It was a bit of human symbology, because we always like actions speaking louder than words. They were happy to nick that shit and not think it was demonic. So, they just really need to give it up.
That's what
no
I was
one cares.
I was going to go off that too. They took a lot of the pagan rituals that are in Christmas or Easter that are
Saturnalia, yeah.
They would have pushed pagans away at the time had they just had them join and got rid of these holidays. So now they kind of brought them in and brought some of their cultural stuff in, and now I guess I see that they want to push it away, but
Well, it was
I don't know
they
how to
wanted
bring
to.
another pushes it
They,
away. They need to either just push it away, but not push it away and say that it's demonic.
they took the stuff that just like even the most lap stuff that people would do, like, oh well, everybody's got a bit of a holiday here, so we'll sort of like adjust our calendar to fit theirs,
Yeah.
and then it's just like, but other certain parts of like the dogma inside the religion, yeah, they wanted to see that as devil worship, and that to be seen as doing the bad thing, so that culturally, people would convert to Christianity, or they would, because they were very polytheistic, they could take Yahweh in as another god alongside Odin,
Right.
and stuff like that, and then it'd be like, oh, but this other stuff that you do, that's the bad, wicked stuff. So if anybody was worshipping that thing, they'd be shunned, they'd be attacked, and they'd be driven away. It was a way of forcing people to comply.
The other.
Yeah, and my point is, even if this it started out as like a dark day or some like for some supernatural bullshit. I mean, like nowadays it was for the kids to have fun and like go get candy. I mean,
Right.
I mean, there's nothing. I mean, there's no real issue about it. And more importantly, if a person doesn't like it, I mean, like, who cares really? I mean, it's just a bunch of kids like going out getting candy and shit, and it's not like, I mean, it's not hurting anybody. So what's the point of even worrying about it? I mean, for me, my feast for Hallows Eve was just getting a bunch of candy and then feeling sick the next few days.
And it's a good day to let your freak flag fly. If I can say that in one sentence.
Oh, basically,
Yourself, you can just let it go.
Mm.
At least
Come on,
America-
it's a good excuse to see a bunch of girls dressed up in slutty stuff and a bunch of men dressed up in ridiculous stuff. It's the one day a year where you still get to feel like a child as you're a grown-up. I think that's why adults like it so much too, because of adults that don't have children, I don't think put nearly as much effort into Christmas as they do with Halloween. And I do think it's because of that. It's the one time where everybody gets to be a child again, dress up silly.
Sure. Well into an adulthood. I mean, you see people in old folks' homes doing the same thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
lifespan, it's still a throwback to your childhood. So yeah, I agree with you, Wolf. It's been moved out of the realm of any kind of thing like that and just a cultural thing now.
Yeah, I mean, they should always allow it to go on, because it's just it's
doesn't
just a
promote
bit of harmless fun. It doesn't hurt anybody.
It doesn't
Like when it doesn't promote any religion at all.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing. It's no longer attached to any sort of practice religion. I mean, those that do call themselves pagans and druids and stuff like that, they're not proper sort of like Wotanists or anything like that. It's this pre-packaged it's based on a lot of fictitious work. It's not based on what we actually know these people practice. It's based on sort of lives and halves truths, which have become just part of the cultural
more romantic
narrative. Yeah, it's like when people sort of go for this sort of like pre-packaged version of like Hinduism and Chinese mysticism as some sort of wooey spiritualist ideology, and it's just like, that's not actually what those things mean. That's just a misinterpretation of it. Stop being so silly.
and all sexed up for them.
Yeah, it's kind of its pre-packaged colonialist rebrandings of this stuff, and it's just like, you're not Wiccan, you're not a pagan, you're not doing anything that these people, you're not worshipping some pre-Christian religion. You're worshipping some like early 1900s, and some of them even sort of like 1950s, 1960s New Age rebranding of it that is absolute nonsense.
Right. Yep. Anything else to add, Wolf?
just basically, I think people have too much time on their hands.
Yeah, they're bitching about that. Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Agreed. Okay, but okay. New story. Now, be warned. Be warned, because I actually make this very clear. Because when you step into the den, you're looking at a lot of stuff. So we're just gonna hit on this. Okay. Kevin Davis, 18-year-old Kevin Davis from Texas, killed his mother by strangling her with a video game controller, bashing her skull in, reaching into her skull, taking out her brain matter. Then afterwards, this is really gruesome. And then raping her, and some really dark stuff. And he pleaded guilty on Monday, just as his trial began. But yeah, this is this just demonstrates the real mental illness that's going on. Like I don't even know how a person could actually do this. What do you guys think?
Were bath salts involved? That's what I was asking. Like, do they know?
I'm not sure. I might have to look more into this. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, no, that's what I was wondering, if it was actually a mental illness or a brought on, like a natural mental illness, or if it's brought on chemically induced mental illness kind of thing.
Well, hold on. He used a gaming controller. It was obviously Call of Duty.
Oh yeah, Mario, fucking Mario.
Yeah. I mean, if games made you do stuff, then a load of people in the 80s would have hung around in dark rooms listening to repetitive music and munching pills.
Everybody
wait a minute.
Plumbers. Fuck that. Everybody be plumbers by now.
Yeah. I mean, it's just... I mean, there is always going to be somebody out there who's either mentally or either like they've got some problem in their brain chemistry, or they've got some problem with their... they've got behavioral problems. There's tons of stuff we don't know about this human being, and without us...
You can spike a fever and get to those stages.
Yeah, he could have had a fever. He could have had some sort of brain damage from something.
Brain seizure that was on a brain level, not on a physical, or not on a...
Yeah. He could have even had some sort of minor stroke in part of his brains. That's been known to happen. And, perhaps, maybe, there's another theory out there. Perhaps maybe his mother was a massive cunt. And, he just lost his rag with her. And there's a thing, when you start murdering, you can go into a rage frenzy. Just like when chimps get bloodlust, human beings can do it too.
That's what I didn't... When you said the rape part, how does that fit into that? That's what threw me off. Was once he had rape in there.
Well, because of when you're in
actually, not to cut you off, Tress, but I just need to read this. Okay. Shortly after he gave his they gave the description of what had happened, and the friggin' jury was just stunned about this. He turned to the jury and said, "Well, I guess I lost my my virginity to a dead corpse." And that just he knows what the fuck he did, and it just demonstrates the depravity of the heinous crime and the mentality of this person. I mean, that is just cold. You dehumanize, you brutally murder, and then just friggin' after you mutilate the woman who gave you life, you friggin' just say you reduce her to a dead corpse. I mean, this guy's just a cold, sociopathic son of a bitch.
Your chemicals are off in your brain. I mean, it's easy to be off. I mean, it doesn't take much to be off.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's multiple factors in his environment. Some could have been important in this particular case because of the presence of other factors or the lack of other factors. There's so many things that could have caused this particular outcome. We as human beings, we always like to find a root cause, or one thing to blame, a boogeyman, if you will, because then it's just, so long as I don't have the boogeyman, I'm fine. And, well, as long as my kids or I don't play Call of Duty, this will never happen to me. It's part of our basic urge to survive. But, I mean, just know this individual had problems And until we know a proper psychological evaluation of this guy, we won't know where this stuff's come from. It could be a poor upbringing, it could be something to do with his upbringing and his diet, it could just be his diet.
And
Trying
how
to find one factor
and were
when
there
there could be
warning signs?
multiple.
You know, leading up to it, were there warning signs
I mean,
that he ignored, or his family? Did they?
I'm not exactly sure. They're still looking into it, but really, I wouldn't be surprised as if because this sounds no similar than the recent well, not necessarily a recent, but instance that happened months earlier with the whole who's that kid who that's called himself Magnificent, that kid who from Santa Barbara who didn't
I know who
like
you
much
mean.
people who couldn't get girls.
Oh, I know who you mean.
Yeah, I
What was
forgot his name, but I forgot his name. All I know, he said he was magnificent. He wanted to get rid of sex and stuff like that, so he shot up all them people and them girls who wanted to kill to impress Slender Man. People are crazy. Some individuals, when left unchecked, they'll do some pretty horrendous, crazy shit. But any final thoughts on that, guys?
I just think people just need to sort of they need to be careful not to get hysterical about these things. I mean, there is always going to be crazy stuff. I mean, it's not that there is an increase in this stuff. It's more of a case that these things we hear about so much more now because of the internet, because of rolling news. You know, it can seem like the world is way more desperate. All of this stuff went on just as bad. I mean, there was a guy called it's Dennis Nielsen. Don't confuse him with Derek Nielsen. That's the other guy. Dennis Nielsen. He was a guy who seemed quite normal. What he was doing was taking home gay men who were generally like lost, used, and stuff like that, and people who wouldn't necessarily be that missed. And he'd take them back to his place. He would have sex with them. Then he would kill them, and he would hide the body. And then he would take it out. He'd dress them up and have sex with them some more. And then when they got a bit too much, he cut them up, boiled the flesh off the bones, and disposed of the body. And he went around doing this for a while. He lived in a house, and then he moved into a flat. And one day the drains were blocked, so a guy went to check the drains, and he found all of these bits of human remains.
Nice.
And he called the police. The police turned up, and obviously they questioned the people in the other flats, and there was still just one other flat to question. And they could smell a funny smell coming from the flat. And when he turned up and the police confronted him, he invited the police up very calmly, went into his flat, just sort of sat down, or I think just stood there, and he's like, I know why you're here. It's in there. And they're like, what's in there? And inside a wardrobe filled with car air fresheners was the remains of his latest victim. And he killed I think it was about 14 or 16 people, but he did admit to the judge he's not sure how many he killed. Or there was a guy in England as well, the most prolific serial killer, whose name was Dr. Harold Shipman. He was a doctor, and what he was doing was euthanizing old people. He would go around, he would give them a wee injection, they would pass away, and he would register their death as a heart attack. And nobody thought to question it. This guy could just get away with it.
There was a nurse here that did that. There was a nurse that would go from hospital to hospital, and she kept getting rehired at places. And obviously, they didn't know she was a serial killer. Elliot Rogers was that Santa Barbara killer.
Elliot Rogers, that was it. Yes.
Yeah. The magnificent one who killed people because girls wouldn't sleep with him. I mean,
it wasn't just that. Come on, let's be honest. He had some very deep-seated emotional and behavioural problems, and it wasn't just women he had an issue with. It wasn't just because women wouldn't sleep with him. That was a large proportion of it, but it was mainly
Okay,
just
hold on.
jealousy.
You guys keep on talking about this. Just to comment on this thing before I come back and we move on. Yeah. Chaz, you brought up just to be clear, you brought up several things like environmental pressures, like now that is the case, but it's not directly linked to what we see on TV or in movies or culture like that. Because I remember them trying to blame like creepypasta, the Slender Man thing on like creepypasta and what Elliot Rodgers did on like the movie Neighbors with Seth Rogen. But these honestly, it is like connected to environment, but stuff like that is like completely ridiculous, and also the chemical imbalances these people have. But you guys talk for amongst yourself for a couple of minutes, and I'll be right back.
Right on.
Yeah, well, there's an interesting thing amongst human behavior, which is where if you do something, we're capable of doing a lot of things that we normally wouldn't, because we learn to moderate our behavior. But one day we act on an urge, yeah, and then nothing happens. It's a progressive thing. Like certain types of people who are serial killers, there's generally a pattern that emerges. There's some other behavior prior to murder. They do that, they get away with it, they get the rush, and that incentivizes them to do it again to get that rush. It becomes an addictive behavior.
Exactly.
It's just like taking cocaine. Yes, I just said murdering people was like taking cocaine. It's a rush, it's a high. In these situations, I mean, murder can be many different things. You can murder people. You snap mentally and you murder somebody, and there's two things that can happen. You can either feel remorse or regret, or even some people that they murder in cold blood, but they only murder that one specific person, yeah? Those people can be rehabilitated. There are others who, when they murder, they get a high, a rush from it. It could be a power thing. And then they want to go on and they want to murder some more. They want to re-experience that rush. And so they murder, or they want to increase that rush. It's like, they tried a little sniff of cocaine, now they want to do an entire line.
Yep.
So it goes from, they tied somebody up and, they enjoyed having power over this person and, being violent or torturing them in some way, and then it progresses from there to like, they torture and violence becomes worse.
The original one's called something, and then the progression is called something. I forget what they both are called, but it's where you never can get that original high. So you keep trying, you keep going more extreme, and you keep trying, keep going more extreme and trying. And...
Yep. It's a very interesting thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I do think there are environmental stimuli that can but can contribute to.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are all products of our environment. We alter we interact with our environment. We alter our environment, and then our environment is altered, and then that alters us. We have to alter then to fit within that environment as we've altered it.
Yep. And I wasn't real sure. What do you know about the Slender Man thing? I didn't even know about Slender Man until maybe like a year or two ago.
I understand that like Slenderman's this game, I think, isn't it?
I don't know.
Online.
Yeah. This game about this. It's a game about this boogeyman character that. Okay, so you're supposed to get. Yeah. It's
cool. People were freaking out.
What I kept seeing a year ago was people talking about Slender Man would come get you. You would see him off in the distance, and then every now and then and he would be closer and closer.
It works on the idea of it's sort of like the random pop out. Yeah, you've got to go and find these bits of paper in this woods, and I think the thing is to not look where Slender Man is, or he'll get you.
Yeah, because
Um,
the more I actually heard about this on Tanami one time. Okay, so you get these 8 pages right as you get them. Like you keep running into this character called the Slender Man with your flashlight and stuff like that. And the more pages you get, he gets the ability to like teleport like Goku from Dragon Ball Z. And I mean,
Yep.
even if you get the 8 pages, like he'll still get you. You like
Is
although I
that
think
spoiler alert.
did the story come from the game, or did the game come from?
Yes. No,
Yeah. Well, the story that they inspired the story from, I believe, Creepy Forums, like a website. It's an interesting character, and it just demonstrates how like interesting, how like people can like make stuff up with the imagination, but at the same time, people get too fanatical with like these ideas, and they'll go ape shit and start killing people. But I mean, there's nothing similar to that. Fundamentalist religion. Okay. Next topic. Next issue. I just want to break down. Okay. An LSD trip helped me quit smoking by this is Rose. I think some Dutch dude. Okay. I'm just gonna read his article. For 18 years, I was a light yet stubbornly addicted smoker. Perhaps my habit was a result of growing up with a Dutch mom who handed me wisdom like, "This is you're 11 now. It's time for you to learn to roll. How to learn. It's time for you to learn how to roll smokes for your mommy." There were periods where I just smoked 1 cigarette a day, and there were times when a pack wouldn't see me through, but really quitting, was something I found I was able to manage for a week at most. I was a terribly annoying smoker, the kind that tries to quit for years by not buying his own packs, thus becoming the friend everyone avoids at parties. Sorry, guys. I would smoke during school, but not during school. Like I said, no. During school, but not during work. Like I said, like light smoker, ridiculously addicted. Okay.
So pretty much LSD has helped him get through his smoking addiction.
Oh, let me get to that part. D-Star started running through my head earlier this year and went on for about a month. In the end, it was almost like something broke inside of me. I realized that smoking now just filled me with self-hatred, and that realization came during a weekend binge on LSD. It's always fun. LSD, it may have become a slightly out of fashion drug since the 1960s, but I have always regarded it as a milder version of taking mushrooms, albeit a longer lasting trip. The fear and panic surrounding it always seemed excessive to me, but of course everyone who takes it has a different experience. And apparently it has helped him get over his addiction with smoking, and that is interesting.
Some psychologists, or psychiatrists, they use like psilocybin, however you say it, or LSD kind of to change behaviors with people. It's been used in a therapeutic environment. Like
LSD was invented originally, I think, to cure the common cold. So the
sir.
guy who created it, I bet, sat there went, "Well, my cold's gone, but the couch is trying to eat me now." But no, I mean, the funny thing with that, I mean, smoking, there's two types of addiction. There's chemical, where the chemical alters your body and then you need the chemical to function.
Mhm.
The other one is behavioral. So, like, for instance, anything can be psychologically addictive, but like biting your nails or shopping or cannabis. But things like nicotine is also chemically addictive, and I think it's one of the most chemically addictive substance. So if this guy had a psychological addiction, the chemical release that caused obviously the emotions and the production of the behavior could have been broken by the acid trip.
Mm-hmm.
And that is possibly what happened. Because people don't get addicted to weed as an I need THC to function. They get addicted more to either psychologically to the escape from reality, or it just becomes because they do it so much.
A lot of people look at it as an addiction and habit kind of thing.
Yeah. So that's possibly it's possibly true, but there could be other factors there. I mean,
Mhm.
LSD could have damaged the part of the brain that was regulating his nicotine addiction. I know
Right.
Zyban, which is used to be an antidepressant,
Yep.
um, does help people lose the craving for nicotine. I've taken Zyban before, and I did stop smoking.
Mhm.
Whilst I was on Zyban, I just didn't like what it did to me while I was on it.
Chantix is like that. It's a really good one though.
Mm.
But
It makes you feel a bit spaced out, but not in a good way. It's kind of a little bit like,
Yeah, that's it. Kind of it
don't
almost
ever feel. It's like being a bit confused.
it almost does the bad result where you take a cigarette and you trigger it to your brain to where every time you take a drag of a cigarette you get sick. So now anytime you think about wanting to get a cigarette, you kind of feel sick to your stomach. You get trained to where your body won't want it. In
Yeah,
your
well,
mind.
Yeah, guys. Full disclosure, marijuana user. I mean, honestly, I mean, this is really interesting. If LSD could like get a person to like get over, if one drug could be used to like get another person like off of another vice in that sense. I mean, it, there could be some strides like just in terms of like running experiments and like how people become like dependent on things now like a balance of like different type of factors can like get people off of like that type of dependency with but just with regard to moderation. But what are your final thoughts on this?
Some people find that they've used it where some people can't feel moods, can't feel strong emotions, and they've used it to heighten those moods and emotions for them so that they do have feelings. And that seemed to work. I don't know that this could be used as a therapeutic way to stop smoking or stop an addiction. It seems like it would lessen the harshness of any kind of breaking the habit. I mean, at least you'd be in a good mood while you were breaking the habit, kind of thing. But I don't know if you could. I don't know if you could actually, just from this, saying that it's directly linked to someone stopping this addiction. But I'm all for testing with LSD. I'll sign up first.
Well, I'll give other people a chance to try that. I mean, not that I have anything against LSD per se. It's just it's not for me.
More for me.
Yeah, more for you, you house MD. What next? You gonna try curing your common cold with some heroin?
Oh, that one's too good. No needles.
Yeah, that's a bit much, but okay.
You can smoke heroin.
Okay, Mike Huckabee. All right, he apparently thinks that being anti-gay wins elections, and we need to nip this same-sex marriage in the bud, because that's just this is gonna like be like completely horrendous for the Republican Party to just stand by and let these fags get married. You know what I mean? So what do you think about this? Personally, I think like it won't. I mean, if gays want to get married and be miserable like the rest of us, I say go ahead.
Yeah. Do you have a or is it just in general?
I remember him saying I don't have a clip of him right now saying this, but it's basically just him saying like we can't let like gays get married. That's going to be detrimental to our country. So what do you guys think about that right now?
I'm
back.
actually opposed to the legalization of gay marriage. I think all marriage should be unlegal.
Mm-hmm.
As in, it really doesn't matter at all. Trust me, I'm married. Some silly arbitrary ceremony doesn't make you more or less of a person, and I don't know why the gays want it so much. Seriously, right? And I don't think why the government should get to decide what does and does not constitute a marriage. Who are they, the authority, to denote that, really? I mean, if I want to go and stand on top of a bloody hillock and dress up as a stormtrooper and get married to 3 women dressed as Darth Vader and a 4th one dressed like Princess Leia,
Right.
and call me married to all of them and that they're my Charlie's Angels, that's my fucking interest. And if
Yep.
I then want to live that life and everyone's consenting, they're allowed to do that. No one has any rights over the space around you that's at your arm's length is your own space, and you get to decide what does and does not constitute the life you want to lead. No one else is allowed to pose the standard on you or say that you are wrong for not fitting that standard. It's fucking bollocks. I'm
And
sorry, if it's not harming you, shut the fuck up. And if you want to imagine some way it's hurting you, shut the fuck up twice as hard and kill yourself, you retard.
No, I agree. It should shut the fuck up. And I think if the state or government has to be involved, it needs to be as just taken back like it was in biblical days, taken back to just a contract. It can be between you and 5 other people. It can be between, if you want to leave everything to your goat, then fucking that contract can be there. I mean,
Yeah.
it needs to be delineated between a contract and a relationship, and the government should have no part in a relationship.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got the internet now. You can find like-minded people. If you don't think that monogamy is for you, or say you're the type of person you keep on trying to get into these relationships where it's you and a girl, or you know, you're a girl and it's you and a guy, or hell, even if you're a guy and a guy or a girl and a girl, it's all the same. But you try and get into some sort of monogamous relationship and you can't help but stray, then perhaps try finding somebody who would be happy with, you know, you guys living together and having sex, but then you don't have an exclusive relationship. I'm sure there will be one other person like that on the internet who would be more than happy to enter into that agreement with you. You're like, yeah, sure, we'll be boyfriend and girlfriend, we'll live together, but I won't get bent up. It's like me and my wife have an agreement. She is allowed to have sex with as many women as she likes. It's not cheating.
Yeah.
But I'm the only guy she can sleep with. It's irrational. I fully accept that, but them's my rules. And, you know, she and I are happy to live by that arrangement. And if I want to, I can go out and get as much cock as I like. And I do go out and get as much cock as I like. Zilch.
Yep. You're consensual. That's the biggest part of it. So you're adult, you're consensual. So
yeah, I mean, people, you're adults. You can decide to do things for yourself. If you really need somebody else to tell you how to live your life, then you're not a grown-up.
Yep.
You're still acting like a child. And I think this is actually a problem with, I think, around about the McCarthy generation, and it's kind of increased. We've begun to infantilize children way more. Whereas, you know, like back in the olden days, a 13-year-old was seen as an adult, yeah? Nowadays, we consider them still a child. We're not giving them the tools and the ability to... I know most 13-year-olds, you could chuck them out in the middle of the wilderness. They'd be perfectly fine. You could leave them alone at home. They would be perfectly able to cope, yeah? Not saying that you should do that, but... you know, it's like when I was I got a lot of...
not the end of the world.
Yeah, I got a lot of leeway when I was a kid. You know, my parents' one rule was just come back before it's dark. You know, I'd go out with my friends. I'd just tell my parents I was going out. Wouldn't necessarily tell them where I was going. You know, it was generally just to see my friends and go up and do things. Where we lived, there was a big bunch of hills. Me and my friends would just go and generally play up in the hills or go into town. Me and my friend Joe would often go down the swimming pool.
Yeah, that's here. Yeah.
You know, just go off and do that, and then just come home when you're hungry, pretty much. You know, pretty much the same way you treat a house, the same way you treat a cat. But you know, I had some freedom, and because I had a lot of freedom, I had to learn to be responsible. Not in order to have that freedom, but because of that freedom, I had to be responsible for myself.
Yeah.
By being responsible for myself, I learned to look after myself. I think we've got a lot of children
If not, you got left behind or you got your ass kicked.
Yeah. You know, if I went out and, you know, I learned very quickly. If I went out and I threw stones at somebody's greenhouse, that'd get me into trouble. You know, if I went out and I did something, like if I started just going into people's gardens, I'd have some guy chase after me if I did that. So, you know, I didn't do that. I didn't even do this stuff anyway, but I'm just saying, if I did those things, then I'd learn that my actions have a consequence.
Yep.
And if I'm willing to do the action, I'm willing to accept the consequences,
Yep.
both good and bad. And this is where I think people, like, I just want to bring in something about Thunderfoot. This is where I think a lot of people misunderstood what he was saying about the clothes you wear and your chances of being raped. If you're going to wear a very revealing clothes, you have every right in the world to do that, yeah? You can wear whatever the fuck you like. And as far as I'm concerned, if you want to, you can walk around in public naked, yeah? Don't, because nobody has any interest in seeing your wobbly bits, and I'm sure half the people who do, you are not interested in them seeing your wobbly bits. But, you know, girls can go out as much as they like in little breast dresses and stuff like that, and, you know, stuff that makes them feel sexy, and hell, I even enjoy, like, giving them a nice glance. They obviously want me to look at them, that's why they dress that way, yeah? I'm allowed to take a look. You're in my field of vision. I have every right to look at things in my field of vision.
Yep. It's the repression that corrupts that. It's the repression, sexual repression, and all that.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is, there's a difference between being creepy and leering and just, you know, admiring, yeah?
Yeah.
And, you know, girls can go out and dress in that, and they can go to clubs, and they can get drunk and have a dance, and, you know, we can have a snog and all of that stuff. Well, not now, because obviously my wife will kill me. But yeah, you know, they have every right to do that. They've just got to know, if you do things that will attract attention, some of that attraction, that attention will be unwanted. You know, they're not right for anything that they do. They're not justified because you did X that they could do Y. But at the same point, if you do, you know, be cautious of how you interact with your environment, because your environment will always be looking to interact with you. You don't exist in a bubble, and neither do others. You know, and I think that's the problem. I think people don't understand these things. You should, you know, take onus for whatever you do. Like, in a survival situation, if I decide to climb a tree, yeah, to try and get a look at where I am, to obviously be able to see if I can see any sort of like signs of like human inhabitants, yeah. So I've got a bearing. If I head over there, that looks like a road, or that looks like there might be logging going on, yeah. But if I climb a tree to try and get some bearings, I'm accepting the reward of knowing where I might be and finding a way out, along with the risk that I can fall out the tree, break both my legs, or fall on my neck and die, yeah? I'm accepting both those outcomes simultaneously with that action, and whatever one happens, it's my own fault. If I decide to cook a bacon sandwich, and I burn my eyebrows off, yeah? Because I accidentally set fire to the pan, yeah? The fat in the pan. I've accepted that outcome happening, along with this other one. It's like saying, oh, I rolled a dice and got a 5. That's unfair. I wanted a 6, damn you. No, I accepted 1 to 6.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't get the 1, or, you know, it landed half on 5 and half on 6. Well, that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
No, I agree. Anything else you want to...
Speaking of dice rolling, I tell you what really fucked me off. We were in Portaventura Park on my honeymoon recently, and as I'm sure listeners might remember from last week, and there was one of those carnival games, and they had these gigantic dice, yeah? And if you rolled a double 6, you won this big panda, yeah? And it cost €4 to have a go. My wife really likes pandas, and I really wanted to win one for her. So we put the €4 in, and she gave me these 2 giant dice. They were kind of like, they were soft, like cushions, with like a plasticky outside and stuff, and the numbers like on them. So I I took the first one and I threw it like a basketball. I went, right, so there's a 6. That's what I'm going for. And I threw it, and it landed, and it was just about, if it had rolled once more forward, it would have been a 6, but instead it didn't do that last little roll forward, and it stayed as a 5. And the other one perfectly landed on a 6. And I was just like, you little... That was the worst thing. If I'd have gotten a 1 and a 6, I wouldn't have been so pissed. The fact that I came that close pissed me off even more than the fact that I'd lost.
Yeah.
But it was just part of the game. We did win some stuff anyway. I won a yo-yo, which was a crap yo-yo. Yo-yos go, it's crap. And she got a little fuzzy dice for her car, so I suppose we won something out of it. And yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, screw those dice, and screw that bitch who worked behind the counter, and screw Portaventura, and in fact, screw Salou, and in fact, no, screw Spain. And in fact, screw any nation that Spain has colonized, so screw Southern America, and in fact, screw America too. In fact, screw the entire fucking planet it's on, and the solar system, and the universe, and all of the inhabitants. Basically, screw you all. Because I didn't win at that game. How does that sound? I think I've alienated enough readers, listeners. Where's Wolf? Is he back yet?
I don't think so. I think he's just on mute. You back, Wolf?
Are you going to get the phone? All right, so it's just me now, talking to myself. Isn't that fun? I'm left here talking to myself. So what am I going to talk about then? Well, I've been reading the book Dune. Everybody should read that.
I'm here, man.
Oh, well, you muted. I thought you'd gone.
I was just
about to start a really good monologue. You've just ruined a really fun part of the show for everybody.
Fine, all right. See you later.
No, I'm sorry. The moment's gone now. It's kind of like love. It must have been love, but it's over now.
Make up your mind, shit. I'll go, okay.
Don't know whether you're coming and going, do you?
Nope.
Generally, it's mainly with the left leg, though, isn't it? Which one's your bad one? Is it your left or your right?
All right.
Yeah, so yeah, it's mainly with your left one. I guessed it right.
Yeah, I'm right-handed, so I don't know if you have a right or left-legged person.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, I write with my left and I kick with my right, so...
Yeah, that's right. I kick with my right. So my... Yeah, because when I ride a skateboard...
You kick with your gammy leg? Actually, I suppose...
I don't kick now.
You might as well kick with the one... You might as well stand on the good one and then just sort of like throw the useless one out.
Yep. That's if I have to kick something, that's how I have to do it. I can't stand on the other one and balance. I usually
That's why you need your cane. You hit them with your cane. Didn't you learn anything from House?
Yeah, that's what I just said. That's what I just said. I said I usually stabilize and then hit it with the cane. And what was I gonna say?
Do you ever do like a nice pimp walk every once in a while? Just like, get a bit of the shoulder action in there as you're walking around the street.
Yeah, just fucking strut.
Just with a little bit of a sort of like, I've been hit with a few shells now, walk with a limp in the head.
I've actually got out on the dance floor and crap with it too.
I just had this image of you in a nightclub, yeah? Just like dressed up in your best, like out on the pool.
Yeah.
This cane, just like going out on the dance floor, drink in one hand, cane in the other one, just like, come on, dance, you fuckers, dance. Like, trying to throw some shapes. Like, it'd be a bit awkward to do the big fish, little fish cardboard box thing, wouldn't it?
Have you ever seen that guy with that only has one leg? It was a internet viral video for a while that he would dance. He had a partner and he would dance with her. He was all dressed out, all pimped out, fedora, like half-looking tux thing on or pinstripe suit type thing on. And he had a cane or a brace, and it was badass how he danced.
All right, I was just imagining this like guy with one leg.
What you talking about?
Wolf. Well, are we talking about guys with one leg dancing? We're talking about one leg guys with one leg dancing. Now, the way you made that sound at first Xbox, I had this image of this guy like doing like a waltz, like a box step, yeah, but
Yeah.
with one leg. So he's got his hand on the partner's side and he's holding her other hand. And I was just imagining, is he just going 1-3, 1-3,
Up.
1-3, hop 1-3. It goes awkward when he goes to the left.
You still there, Wolf?
He's got a whole new dance track.
Yeah, I'm still there.
You got
He could dance to the song "Come On, Eileen."
Funny. All right, let's see what else is on the list. Okay, you guys gave your thoughts on the whole gay issue, right? Any final thoughts on that?
No, I think we all closed.
No,
up.
I think we covered that one in its fullest.
Yeah.
Yeah, while you were gone, this show got a million times better. I will say that.
Well, I better like step it up if that's the case.
Yeah, come on, pull your finger
Let's
out, mate.
see.
You're letting the team down, and worst of all, you're letting yourself down.
Okay, fine. Well, then let's pick it up. Okay. Would you defend interracial marriage bans? What the fuck? Hold on. Okay, the
What?
Republican nominee for Wisconsin's Attorney General post said he would defend. He would have defended an interracial marriage ban if he were Attorney General in a state with such a law during the 1950s. The Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reported Wednesday that Wisconsin Democrats were blasting Waukesha County District Attorney Brad Schmiel over comments he made last month. The very same one on this cable access program, Eye on Oshkosh. So, what do you think about this? Just the ignorance of this whole thing. I mean, like, it's not hurting. I mean, if you're two people of different like ethnic backgrounds who love each other and want to like be together, I mean, you obviously should do that. I mean, that's why we've sort of overlooked this and recognized that there's no real harm to it, and it's doing more good for people. So like, let's just have this. I mean, what do you guys think of this?
Well, I think so long as neither of the people's white, I'm all for interracial marriage. And I'm joking with that one, but I mean seriously though, a black person and a Chinese person, they could pick the cotton and wash it for you. And that's enough of the racist jokes. But I mean seriously, are there still people who say this? Why do people still say this shit in America? What is wrong with you people?
And it's
I mean,
hard.
seriously. I
It's
mean, I know
hard-
we've got UKIP, but I mean, they're harmless. No one cares. Why are you?
And I know it's hard to judge them on a standard now in our time now than what the mentality would have been then. But I don't know why you'd have the need to even say anything now about it. And we've moved past that culturally.
I mean, what would even be his defense? That's the thing I'm trying to work out. What is it? Black and white, but half black, half white. What are they going to be, a zebra? You want to see a load of zebra children around? That's about the only thing that I can think that you're going to say, other than just lunacy.
Right, and that's all they had back then too was lunacy, but it wasn't as wide covered and how much information we have now.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, even by the 50s, a lot of it was out, but still, they were using backwoods arguments.
do you know what it is? It's America decided to do stupid shit after it abolished slavery, which it did late compared to everybody else. It then went into segregation rather than just going, yeah, no, all of that silly stuff is just going to end, we'll just just get over it and just move on. No, America just seemed to have this like silliness of segregation and Jim Crow laws, and I think that's kind of retarded the multiculturalism of America. It's getting there, but I think other countries, and I'm going to say Britain, I think is a lot further ahead of you when it comes to things like this. Because, I mean, seriously, I mean, what is the point of even... Why do people... I swear, these people are just
Well,
trolling.
well,
It's just-
okay. Let me just answer. So let me just answer some of your questions, Chaz, with that. Well, I mean, I feel like it's sort of like what you said earlier. You know, we're feeling like it's appealing to like an older, like 60-ish white crowd, in that let's fuck this like multicultural equality and stuff like that. Let's go back to basics. Let's go back to what we know with the 1950s thing. But it's segregation and stuff like that. But it's really like a dying breed. It's going to no pun intended. It's gonna like I mean, this is gonna fall out of style. It's just like age-old bigotry that's sort of been alleviated with recognizing with the Human Genome Project. There's no difference between like humans. Like the only real difference between like humans as far as like DNA goes is like it's small and arbitrary, like 0.05%. So there's like I mean it's just a social structure used to just separate people while the powers that be like control everything and focus on cutting down freedom and equality at that cost. But we're making progress, slowly but surely. All right. So what are your final comments on this? Because
I think America softened
we're
it.
getting close to the grand finale here.
I think America softened it up for they were worried about culture shock a lot of times like that. So they tried to soften these blows and made it worse, but it was culture shock. I think that was the biggest thing they were looking out for.
Do you know what? I think that white people should be encouraging marriages with blacks, because in that way they never have to go to tanning salons. That cuts down their chances of getting skin cancer, and they get some rhythm. So I mean, I'm all for it.
But
Well, I do actually have to say, I do actually have black ancestry myself. Funnily enough, because of slavery. So if it wasn't for slavery, I wouldn't be around. So everybody should be thankful for slavery. Otherwise, if it wasn't for slavery, I wouldn't exist. Think about that.
That'd be a terrible world.
Yeah, you sort of got a Rick Ross kind of face to yourself. Now that I think about it, just like more British. Hey, say boss, Chess.
Boss.
I'm the boss.
I'm the boss.
I
don't know why my voice went really gravelly
Cool,
then.
funny.
It's because I'm smoking. It almost was like, I'm the boss. like I'm Jack Bauer. I don't have time to explain.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna head out one more story for today. Okay, ISIS caught at Mexican border. Be afraid. All right. So basically, the conservatives are tripping over like these rumors of ISIS being spotted at like the Mexican border. Now, with the fact that ISIS is as apparently a terrorist group and like a group who's pining for the caliphate, why isn't the people who are guarding the gate and like Homeland Security being addressed like this? So. Here's what Homeland Security said. Okay. The Department of Homeland Security is called right-wing flamethrower. Representative Duncan Hunter, who is a main person who's claimed this, they called the claim that there have been at least 10 ISIS fighters apprehended at the southern border categorically false. So they've acknowledged that there is no empirical evidence behind this claim, and it's just an excuse to just say, we don't want them Mexicans coming in here taking our jobs. We don't want that shit. So let's equate them with terrorists, because that's what George Washington would have wanted. But what you guys think?
Well, I always find it funny with these sort of bigots who say that, because half the time they spend half their time saying all of these immigrants are coming here and taking our jobs. Like the dictators, and they spend the other time complaining that they're coming here and stealing all the benefits. I mean, they're either here on benefits or they're here stealing jobs. Pick which one it is. They're not doing both. And you know, it's just I mean, I tell you what it is. There's probably been some people who've been apprehended because of, you know, their cousin or something like that might be a known member of ISIS, and they've been stopped, and maybe they've been detained and questioned because they've raised a flag. Yeah, but then, you know, it's turned out to be just nothing. There's nothing wrong with them. Boom, on you go. I mean, all these things for years we've known that the government's been reading our emails. I've been sending the occasional blank one just to make them think I've invented invisible ink. But it's all it is with these people. You know, they read everything, and occasionally there's words that they all use, code words, which just seem like normal words. And because obviously you'll use normal words in your day that are the same as these code words, or these certain words will pop up, your details will get flagged up and looked at by somebody in the CIA or in some facet of some government around the world. They'll have a little look at it. It'll turn out to be nothing, and then they'll just, you know, mark it as, you know, remove the flag and move on. You know? And that's just how these things happen. And I mean, that's probably at best, because there's always sometimes a grain of truth to this story. So that's probably what it is. There's probably been some slightly Arab-looking guy who's been stopped and checked because of God knows what, and then some people have been like, oh, he's ISIS, because, you know, it's just like there was some hairy guy who came out of the woods and somebody thought he was Bigfoot.
Yeah. ISIS on the brain, so now all they see is ISIS.
Yeah, there's a funny thing as well. If you look at these sort of legends, they're very concentrated as well. Like when it comes to things like Sasquatch, they're only in certain areas where there'll be like where there's main sightings, and it kind of moves out in an epicenter. And in some places they just won't exist. But then the second the seed gets planted, somebody thinks they've seen one and stuff like that, and it's lunacy.
Yep. Anything odd starts being Sasquatch. And or thrown into whatever.
Yep, just an excuse for like just to push bigotry and prejudice and all this stuff. Oh yeah, we got this terrorist group. Now we're seeing it everywhere. We've seen it at the Mexican border. Yeah, that makes geographical sense. You know, like ISIS. Yeah, they're totally down in Mexico. You know, where where immigrants who just want to, like, you know, make money to support their families and shit like that. Yeah. They're down here. It's silly. Okay, like final thoughts on this, guys.
I just think Americans just need to stop talking. I think that's what we just generally learn. Everything here has just been examples of where Americans in general just need to stop talking.
It's a harsh generalization, and maybe there are lots that do need to shut the fuck up, though.
Yeah. I think if all Americans just stopped talking for like 24 hours, I think the world would be a slightly peaceful place for a while. Wouldn't be any stupid things said. Well, there would be, but it would minimize a lot of stupid, I think.
Okay, just a granted caveat. We all, not all of us say demonstrably stupid and erroneous crap. Okay, that's just the people who basically have an agenda, and usually that's found on the right. The smart one. Usually the ones that make most sense are found are usually empirical rationalists on the left. But you know, that's I think that's the end of the show. All right, this has been Wolf King. This has been Xbox and Chaz telling you guys whenever you're looking for, you know, reason and free thought, you gotta be willing to step into the den. This has been Wolf King and on Wolf's Den Radio. Signing out.